Hello, and welcome to the Hack Divorce Course Financials module. My name is Michelle. I'm a family law mediator and creator of the Hack Divorce Course. Check out the link below to download the free financial module workbook that accompanies these videos. And if you're a DIYer and would like to write your own separation agreement, click on the link below to purchase my definitive sourcebook of family law separation agreement clauses. This one-of-a-kind, indispensable resource will show you a dozen examples of real, comprehensive separation agreements with tips and tools so you can competently write your own agreement. Be sure to like and subscribe, and now, let's get on with it. In the financial section of the Hack Divorce course, information will be shared as if the partners have been legally married. In Canada, that means that both parties to the marriage get an equal share of the net value of the property accumulated during the marriage, unless they agree otherwise. Getting an equal share doesn't mean that everything gets split in half, though. In most cases, assets and possessions are traded around so that each party gets half the total value of the assets. If this is a little confusing right now, don't worry. As we go through the financials module, we'll build up to a bigger understanding of what this means. Just a quick side note, if you are a common law couple and have not been legally married, the laws may be different for you. Remember that the Hack Divorce course is for informational purposes only, and it's up to you to take responsibility for your own situation. Please consult a legal professional if you're unsure about your rights or you need legal advice. Moving on. For many people, making decisions about their division of assets will be fairly straightforward, especially if they primarily have savings accounts, RRSPs, or mutual funds, and maybe a few vehicles. However, some people have more complex situations with their investments. If you need clarity about your specific financial situation, or you wish to have professional advice, hiring an expert is an option to consider. If you haven't done so already, be sure to print off the copy of the financial information checklist found below. You may have already printed this off in the Foundations module, in which case you're all ready to go. Use this worksheet to record the details about your important financial information as we go through the next several videos. I'll be showing you examples of this as we go along. All right, before we go any further, let's quickly go over the types of property. There are two types of property to consider as assets. There is tangible property, which would include things that you can see and feel, like vehicles, furniture, electronics, real estate, tools, fine art, and expensive jewelry. Intangible property would include things that you can't see or feel, and it would look like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, RRSPs, pensions, and savings accounts. The marital home and pensions will be discussed in their own videos, so this video will focus on all the other assets except for those. As you work through the videos in the financial module, you're working toward getting a clear idea of the value of all of your shared marital property between your date of marriage and your date of separation. In most cases, the value of what you own jointly will be calculated between those two dates. For example, if you owned $10,000 in mutual funds on the day you got married and they were worth $20,000 on the day you were separated, the $10,000 you owned before getting married still belongs to you. But $10,000 accumulated during the marriage is shared between you and your ex. Taking the time to gather the appropriate information and figure this out now will help pull everything together when you work through the equalization sheets in the equalization video. Remember, it's very unlikely you will split all of your assets right down the middle, but rather you will trade things around and make negotiations. In the end, each party should walk away with their fair share of the marital property. So the structure of this teaching will be like this. First, we'll identify the asset and locate where it goes on the financials checklist. We'll do this in the same order as they appear on the financials checklist. Second, I'll show you examples from real agreements of what you may want to consider in your own agreement. You can find more examples in the bonus PDF of real agreements included with this module. These additional agreement examples will give you some more ideas of real legal clauses that other people have used for the same categories. Be sure to check them out. First, let's have a look at bank accounts. It's important to record all the information for each of your bank accounts, as the money in them is shared property. Money in regularly used checking accounts typically goes in and out as the paychecks do. However, larger balances, and especially the balances in savings accounts, need to be considered here. If you had savings in one of your accounts before you were married, be sure to make a note of its balance at your date of marriage here in the margin so that you can calculate what the increase in value was during your marriage. On to RRSPs. In Canada, we have a registered retirement savings plan called an RRSP, and it's a type of financial account for holding savings and investment assets. An RRSP is a tax preferred account which provides tax advantages to those who have one. If you are from the USA, this would be similar to your 401k plan. And if you're from the UK, you may have a self invested personal pension or SIPP, which is also similar to an RRSP. If you own RRSPs or a similar pension investment product, you'll need to get reports to help you evaluate its net worth from the date of marriage to the date of separation. If you're unsure about how to do this, reach out for some help from your employer's HR office or contact a financial professional. If you and your ex agree that some or all RRSP funds will be transferred from one party to the other, you're going to need to fill out a T2220 form in Canada. I'll give a link below. First, let's find RRSPs on the financial checklist. Let's say that this person has an RRSP with Moonlight Financial and it's worth $20,000. Now I'm going to give you a few examples of what this might look like in an actual agreement. Let's read through example 1 here. You'll notice that assets are listed in the property section of the agreement, so that's why this subtitle for property is here. So example number 1, 1.1. On signing this agreement, Dave will roll over from his RRSP to Jenna's RRSP $5,000 of his cash RRSPs in Moonlight Financial pursuant to Section 146(16) of the Income Tax Act. Dave will also complete the form T2220 and deliver it immediately to Jenna to effect the rollover. 1.2. Dave confirms that these RRSPs are not locked in and are available now for Jenna to transfer to her RRSP with Starlife Financial, and also confirms that Jenna is not liable for any commission or other charges to the transfer of the RRSPs except for her own income tax. Okay, so that's what it would look like in an agreement. I'm going to give you one more example here with a little bit more detail. So RRSP example number 2. 1.1. On signing this agreement, Lisa will roll over from her RRSP to Steve's RRSP $10,000 of her mutual fund RRSPs in Moonlight Financial Policy number 123, account number 456, pursuant to Section 146(16) in the Income Tax Act. Lisa will also complete the form T2220 and deliver it immediately to Steve to effect the rollover. 1.2. Lisa confirms that these RRSPs are available now for Steve to transfer to his Moonlight Financial RRSP policy number 789, account number 321. Lisa also confirms that Steve is not liable for any commission or other charges on the transfer of these RRSPs except his own income tax. You'll notice that in example 2, I put in the account numbers, and in example number 1, I didn't. The more information you provide, the better, but sometimes people leave specifics out. On to other real estate. If you own properties other than your marital home, such as a cottage, it will probably be included here. Sometimes a second property is considered a marital home also, depending on how it's being used. You would need to get professional advice for your situation if this is you and you're unsure. Looking at the financial checklist, we're going to list a cottage worth $500,000 with a mortgage of $200,000 here. Okay, so next is whole life insurance policies. A whole life policy has a cash value and will usually be included in the marital property. You need to find out what its cash surrender value was when you got married and again when you got separated. Next is jewelry. If you have any jewelry of value, you'll have to determine at what value you begin counting it as an asset. In this example, I'm going to say anything over $1,000. You may need appraisal certificates to support your claims. Also, just a side note, it really depends on your situation whether you include your wedding jewelry in this or not. People have their own reasons for doing this or not doing this, As long as you and your ex can agree, there should be no problem. If you do end up in a stalemate around certain agreements, look into hiring a mediator to help you with the disagreement if possible. Okay, so tools. Many people require tools for their trade or business. Again, if you fall into this category, it really depends on your ex and you to figure out if these should be included in the marital property or not. Some things to consider here are: when were the tools purchased and with what money? What are their current market value? And how would it affect the party financially if they had to repurchase the tools to continue working? So let's have a look at an example here. On the financial information checklist, we're going to list this: that it's an art studio with a value of $4,500. Now I'll show you an example of what it might look like in an agreement. So the section is called property, and the example we're doing is tools. 1.1. On signing this agreement, Steve will transfer to Lisa exclusive possession of the art studio materials and tools valued at $4,500. Vehicles. Depending on the value of your vehicles, you can include them or leave them out. If you include them, you'll need to list the make, model, year, and market value assigned, and you'll also need to consider any transfer of licensing and registration and the deadlines that any transfer should take place by. For example, we have a 2016 Lincoln MKX listed here. It's worth $15,000. There's still a loan on it of $7,000, and monthly payments are $500. Moving over to the agreement example, we see that it would be written like this. Lisa has possession of the 2016 Lincoln MKX. Lisa will immediately transfer its ownership to Steve. Lisa will sign any documents necessary to ensure that Steve will not pay any sales tax on the transfer. Lisa will maintain the vehicle insurance until the transfer. She will indemnify Steve from any loss he incurs if she fails to do so. From the date of the ownership transfer, Steve will insure the vehicle. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to grab your copy of my indispensable resource for writing your own separation agreement, the definitive sourcebook of family law separation agreement clauses. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.